time. Time for Big Boys Boxing. Let's get it.
Jab from Fury. Jab, right hand over the top. Big one from Fury. Bends Wilder's back over the ropes. Another right hand from Fury. Right hook. Right hook to the body. Left hook upstairs from Fury. Wilder comes back with a jab, but Fury comes straight back to him. Another right hand over the top from Fury. Left hook. Pushes Wilder back on the ropes again. Throws another right hook while they're in the clinch. Does Fury. Left hook, right hand. Down goes Wilder again. He's out cold. No, he's not. He can hardly move though. That's it. Round 11, Tyson Fury knocks out Deontay Wilder. No more matches between these two. It's over. Move on. Get the f*** out of here. Woo! Well done, Tyson Fury. And still, the WBC heavyweight champion of the world, and still unbeaten, Tyson, the Gypsy King Fury. What is going on, team? Welcome back to Big Boys Boxing for the final stream of the year. Today, here in New Zealand, it's the 22nd of December. Couple more days left till Christmas. And I'm not really aware of any boxing that's happening until New Year's Day, where there's the Martin and Ortiz card that's got plenty heavyweights on it. But today, we'll talk a bit about what's happened over the year. And I guess I better start with my post-fight review that I never did for Parker v Chisora 2. So, I guess, without further ado,
let's get ready to rumble!
So I will open up the panel after I've had my little startup, let a few of y'all get in here and so on and so forth. But yeah, Parker v Chisora. Oh, what a fight, huh? It was something that most people didn't want to see. I wasn't too keen on it myself, but it turned out to be a pretty classic heavyweight fight. We have Adri in the house. Good to have you in, man. Hope you're doing well. There is a poll at the top for anybody who would like to participate. I picked a few fights that I thought were good for the year. We've got Wilder Fury 3. We've got Joshua v Usyk. We've got Parker v Chisora 2. And we've got Kaunaki v Helenius 2. So you pick your heavyweight fight of the year. Currently 100% of people have voted for Wilder v Fury 3. This is the first poll I've run. What have we got? It says 3 people have participated, I think. 21 minutes. Go, 4 votes. There we go. So, someone's just voted and it wasn't for Tyson Fury versus... Oh, there we go. Someone voted for Joshua v Usyk. Oh no, it wasn't Joshua v Usyk. It was Parker v Chisora 2. Wow, nice. Anyways, I'll get into my little review first. And yeah, Parker v Chisora 2. So Parker got the win, obviously. I scored the fight. My scorecard was 118-108. I thought Derek Chisora clearly won round 6. I thought round 11 was close-ish, but I gave that one to Parker. Now, round 10 was very close. Round 11 I gave to Chisora. Round 10 was also very close. I could see anybody giving that round to Parker or Chisora. I thought 12 was clear to Parker, and I thought the rest were clear to Parker. So I think at worst you could have it 117, 109. Now, there was 3 knockdowns in the fight. I didn't count the last one. It was definitely a push. There was a punch before the push that sort of unsteadied Chisora, but it shouldn't have been called a knockdown. There was too much of a push there. So that's why I've got 118, 108, not 118, 107. Now the judges' scorecards on the fight. Holy McJesus. They all tried to rob him. All of them. Not just the 114, 112 card, but the 115, 111, 115 and 110. They were trying to rob him too. There is no way Derek Chisora won 5 rounds in that fight. Let alone winning, what's the 114, 112? That's Derek Chisora winning 6 rounds. Hell to the no. Goddamn corrupt, crazy mother pluckers. That was just crazy, man. There's no way Derek Chisora won that many rounds. Not a shit show. So I think that was disgusting from the UK judges in that case. Parker was nailing those uppercuts. He was indeed. I mean, Parker's always had a fairly decent uppercut, but he hasn't been using it for a long time. And somebody like Derek Chisora, who comes in, bobs and weaves, puts their head down, you want to give them something to eat when they're putting their head down, right? So they can't come over the top with that big right hand like Derek Chisora did in the first fight, in the first 7 seconds. But it was good to see Joseph Parker starting strong, holding the center of the ring, not letting Derek push him back, trying to get some respect. I think he probably put a little bit too much on a lot of those punches in the first 4 rounds, but he did look dominant. After the 4th, you could hear Andy Lee in the corner saying, just break him down. We don't need to knock him out. You break him down and you get him later on. So he took his foot off the gas a little bit. I think Parker still won the 5th round, but then Derek had a spurt in the 6th, and I think he won that clearly. But it was a great fight to watch. Derek always comes to fight, and like Joe said, he's a credit to the sport. He's the guy. If you can't beat Derek Chisora, you're not a world level fighter. He's a pretty elite kind of gatekeeper in my eyes. Many think he should retire, but he ain't gonna retire. The more people say he should retire, the longer he's probably gonna go. He's just that sort of guy. But yeah, it was a great fight to watch. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was good to see some improvements from Joe. It's been a long time that Joe's been saying you haven't seen the best of Joseph Parker yet. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and we actually saw some of what he said he was gonna do for a change. So the influence of Andy Lee, the Kronk style, it's having a positive effect on Joseph. So does it make him a world beater again? Well, was he ever a world beater? Oh, I'm not so sure. I'm not even so sure he'll ever be a world champion again. Maybe if timing's right, kind of like last time, it's possible. But I want to see Joe against Filip Hrgovic or Joe Joyce next. He needs to be in a final eliminator. He's ranked highly across the board. I think the WBA is his worst ranking. There'll be fresh rankings come out after this month as well, so we'll see where he sits. But yeah, I'm down for a Filip Hrgovic IBF eliminator. I think that's the best one to go for because they don't mess around when it comes to their mandatories. If it's ordered, it's gonna happen, or the champion's losing his belt. Simple as that. I think he could beat Hrgovic too. They did fight in the amateurs, and Hrgovic did beat Parker. But remember, Joe Parker was very young in the amateurs. He turned professional at 19 years old, and I'm pretty sure that's the fight in the amateurs that Joe got his eardrum busted in the first round. So his equilibrium was all out, but he was only 18 at the time, so it is what it is, man. I don't think you can take too much from the amateur fight that was that long ago when one of the participants is that much younger than the other as well. So it is what it is. I want to see that fight. I'm not so sure Joe could beat Joe Joyce. That stamina issue that Joe seems to have at the moment, getting used to a heavier weight. He needs a couple more fights to get used to that weight before he takes on someone with an engine like Joe Joyce. But yeah, we got Phil Carl Roberts in the house as well. We got Stephen, aka Marla, in the house as well. James Jameson in the house. Good to see you in. Nanu, brother. Nanu. Who else we got in here? I will open up the panel shortly and we can get some discussion going about the year. Actually, there's the link to join, right? Pin that to the top so it doesn't disappear. How's this poll going? We'll have a quick look in here. We've got 57% have got Wilder v Fury as their fight of the year. Damn thing keeps disappearing on me. No one's picked Joshua Usyk. Parker Zora has got 43%. Wow, I think it can quite do that good against a fight like Wilder Fury, but it was a decent fight, man, from Parker. So yeah, the link is there for y'all to join. Let me get over into the live panel myself. Where is it? Boom. I am in there. Check my green rings are working. They are. Rightio. So we have a bit of drama going on with Dillian Whyte and Tyson Fury at present. There's a lot of media coming out from Bob Arum saying things like Dillian Whyte, if we can't make a deal with Dillian Whyte, we will fight somebody else. And it's not saying anything about vacating, but I think it's a threat. Dillian Whyte had a arbitration case against the WBC to get his shot as the interim champion, and I think that's determined what the splits will be. If it goes to purse bid, I think Bob Arum knows it. He doesn't want it to go to purse bid because the interim champion, according to the WBC, is entitled to up to 45%. There ain't no way Bob wants to pay Dillian that much. So it's been coming out on social media that Dillian's been offered 13% and he should take it just to get a title shot. Then it was 20% and he should take it just to get a title shot. If he's already been, the arbitration case has determined that he's going to get 30 to 40 or even more percent, there ain't no way Dillian Whyte's going to be settling for less than 30%. Ain't no shit show in hell. I mean, there's some kind of compromise will possibly have to be made if Dillian doesn't take a deal that's somewhere around 30-35%. He'll end up fighting someone else for a hell of a lot less money. He will get the bigger split being the interim champion, but yeah, so he's kind of got to make a compromise to a degree. If it's always been about money for Dillian Whyte, let's not kid ourselves. But he's been chasing that WBC title for a very long time, and yeah, we shall see. I'm just gonna bring up the WBC rankings for myself here because I did see a story just before I started. Otto Wallen is ready to step in to face Dillian Whyte if Tyson Fury doesn't want to fight him. Now, if he doesn't fight him, the WBC will take that belt off him. But I suspect he's probably going to end up franchise champion if he wants to fight anybody who wants the WBC. Is still going to want sanctioning fees from him, and that's their way of getting him. And it's also the way that Tyson can duck Dillian White. That's right, I said duck. I believe that Tyson Fury can beat Dillian White, but Tyson doesn't want to, or Tyson or Bob doesn't want to give him that money. Now there's another point that I wanted to touch on, because Tyson Fury, I thought he had a 5-fight, 12-month deal. I think it was just a 5-fight deal with ESPN. The first fight was, what was the first fight? The first fight on the ESPN deal, I believe, was Wilder Fury 2. So that was the first fight. Then he fought Tom Schwartz. Then he fought Otto Wallen. Then he fought Deontay Wilder again for the third time. So that's 4 fights. There's still actually 1 fight left. For some reason I was counting in my head that the first fight was also ESPN, but it wasn't. So there's still another fight left. I was going to say it doesn't matter shit what Bob says because the contract's up. But if it's a 5-fight deal, there's still 1 left. And yeah, Bob is desperate to have it as an undisputed fight. But unless unless Fury fights White, you ain't gonna have that WBC belt to put on the line. And I ain't buying this franchise champion is just the same as the real belt. I've had a guy arguing with me about it, saying Deontay Wilder was made franchise champion at such and such at November 15, 2019 or some crap. We didn't hear anything about it, and even if he was, it means nothing. To me, that franchise belt that they've got, it doesn't have mandatories. It's not a championship belt, because you don't have to fight the guys who have earned the shot at a real title. End of story. I'm not going to argue with anybody about it. It's fucking worthless, right? But don't try coming at me with it's just the same as. I don't care what the WBC says. They are marketing that designation. In fact, actually, give me a sec here. I've got the freaking soundbite from Mauricio Solomon himself. Give me a second. Where is it? Where is it? Yeah, well, Mauricio Solomon creating this franchise belt. This is what I got to think about it.
Fag bitch ass niggas.
Yeah, that's right. Where is it? Come on, it's got to be here somewhere. Here it is. Listen carefully. This is Mauricio Solomon himself.
The franchise, it's not a new championship or a title. It's a designation.
See, it's not a new championship. It's a designation. Listen.
The franchise, it's not a new championship or a title. It's a designation.
Okay, it's out of the horse's mouth. So don't fucking argue with me. End of story. I ain't arguing about it. It's not a real belt. Alright, so yeah, getting over to the chat. Have a quick look here. What we got? Franchise belt is worthless. Damn right. So if Fury takes that franchise and then tries to say he's fighting Usyk or Joshua for undisputed, he's full of shit. To the eyeballs. Eyes are brown. Face is brown. Nose is brown. Full of shit. Governing bodies. Suleiman is worst. Yeah, man, Jose Suleiman should be turning in his grave, man. What Mauricio's done with the WBC made it a freaking laughing stock. I mean, the WBA aren't much better themselves, but yeah, I'm not buying this franchise crap. If a belt doesn't have mandatories, it's not a championship. So how can they call it the franchise champion? No, it's a franchise designation. Out of your mouth, Mauricio. I like the IBF. See, the WBA is the oldest body. The WBC used to be the most respected organization. Used to be. But at least the last 5 to 7 years, gone downhill. Now it's a laughing stock. Just about as bad as, well, if not worse than the WBA with their so many trinkets they've got. I like the IBF because they don't muck around with their rules. What they say in their rules is generally what happens. So if you're trying to pick a route to a title, you know how to get there without them changing the freaking rules on you. That's why I like the idea of Parker fighting Hrgovic for the IBF mandatory spot. If a guy has then the what? WBA Super, IBF, WBO. If a guy has them, then the WBC throw the franchise in too. There's got to be unified, yeah, right? In which case Tyson Fury cannot have the franchise championship if that's the case, because he's only got one recognized belt. Ring Magazine and the Lineal aren't recognized. So I hope you're right. It seems to be the case with the other franchise champions, Uncle Phil, but we'll see what happens. I'm sure the WBC aren't adverse to changing rules to suit what they want to do, just to make sure they get a piece of those sanctioning fees. Yeah, it's way to get sanctioning fees from Canelo. Well, that's kind of backfired on them too, though, isn't it? Because Canelo doesn't fight at 160 anymore, and he's the middleweight franchise champion. So if he's not fighting at middleweight, they can't get sanctioning fees from him for that franchise designation. It's not a title, it's a designation. Franchise belt is like the BMF belt, Be My Friend belt. In the UFC. Well, yeah, I don't know what I don't watch much UFC, so I wouldn't have a clue. But at least the UFC's, well, it's its own governing body, isn't it? There's the other fighting organization. I can't even remember the name of it off the top of my head. But Bellator, that's it. So there is kind of other sanctioning bodies in MMA as well, but yeah. Gold belt, silver belt, Mayan belt, diamond, etc. Yeah, the list goes on. Mexican belt, the money belt. Man, you create that many titles, it waters down what anything actually means when it comes to a sanctioning body. So, you know, the WBA have kept creating all these titles. The WBC is creating all these titles. All the meanwhile watering down the meaning of their belts, the meaning of their organization. It's ridiculous. It keeps spouting shit and people keep believing it. WBC Mauricio Solomon needs to be fired. Yeah, well, I don't know if that'll ever happen. The legacy of his family pretty much own the WBC, don't it? So, not likely to happen, unfortunately. I just want to see Tyson fight Dillian. I want to see Usyk fight Joshua. Get everything cleared up that's lined up. Get it out the way. And we can move on to a potential undisputed fight. Maybe at the end of 2022. But the way shit's happening, I'm still not holding any high hopes. But we'll see what happens. One thing is for sure, Bob Arum will do his best to make sure that the last fight on Tyson Fury's contract with ESPN is going to pay him well. And he don't give a shit about the legacy of Tyson Fury. Once that contract runs out, he ain't going to give a goddamn shit. He just wants his money, and he wants it as soon as possible. No wonder he is broke. Who's this? WBC. Tiafimo money with sanctioning fees. No wonder he's broke. Now, Tio's head swole up too much. He paid the price for it, so good job. Now, I liked watching Tio in the ring, but then he started getting so arrogant. Not confident, arrogant once he beat Loma. So it really pissed me off, his attitude, and I'm glad he got beat, and I'm glad he didn't manage to weasel a rematch into it either. It doesn't mean I don't want to see him fight anymore, but I'm glad he paid the price for his attitude of overlooking Kambosos, of I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I'm worth this much. That was the biggest thing. He overvalued his worth just for beating one dude, Lomachenko. So, yeah. Bob is a vampire. Yeah, I'll suck the life out of him. I will suck the life out of him before his contract runs out. And then I don't give a shit as long as I get my money. Funny shit, really. But, you know, it's business. And Bob's good at his business. And let's be honest. They got a pretty good stable at the moment as Top Rank. Now that he's not blowing a lot of money on Terence Crawford's fights, maybe he can make a bit of money and put a bit more into the other fighters in his stable, because he's got a pretty decent stable, even at heavyweight at the moment, as Bob Arum. They should get rid of the Bridgerweight division. Unnecessary. Well, unnecessary waste of time. Pure chess. I don't know about that, man. I quite like because there's such a huge jump between light heavyweight. Light heavyweight, cruiser, and heavy. I think there's a place for Bridgerweight if they move cruiserweight back to where it originally was at 190, and make Bridger from 190 to 220. I don't like the 224. 190 to 220. I think there's a place for it, but keeping it there, I think we should get rid of a lot of the super or junior weight classes, particularly in the lowers. Like, and there's only four pounds between weight divisions. No percentage of body weight is a bit different with those smaller guys, but once you get under about 126, there's no need for the super or junior lightweight. You know, I don't think there is any need for those divisions down that low. It should be just the smaller original weight divisions up until featherweight. You'd have super featherweight at 130, lightweight, junior light, super lightweight, and all the rest should stay. But I guess I'm a bit biased because, as the name suggests, big boys boxing. I'm not a big fan of the small weight divisions. So, yeah, it is what it is, man. I mean, that inaugural Bridgerweight title fight was actually pretty good between Rivas and Rizeki. I quite enjoyed that fight, and I'd never seen Rizeki fight before. But a lot of smaller heavyweights, I think there's a place for it, because there's so many much bigger heavyweights these days. Can you imagine someone like Oscar Rivas fighting Tyson Fury? That just looks crazy. 6'9" versus 6 foot. You know, or a Joey DeWaco or a Hemi Ahio. Those guys fighting a Tyson Fury in the same weight division. That's crazy. It's crazy. I guess you could also argue that those smaller guys should be disciplined to make 200 pounds for cruiserweight anyway, but a lot of them don't want to fight down there because cruiserweight doesn't make as much money. Simple as. But yeah. Bob is 90 years old now, yeah. He can't have many years left. But he still seems to have his marbles. Still lies really well. So, it is what it is, man. Alright, so we'll close this poll down. If you haven't voted in the poll, make sure you do so. Currently, this is your last chance to vote for your heavyweight fight of the year from the list that I have picked. Currently, we've got 70% Wilder Fury 3, 0 for Joshua versus Usyk, 30% for, what was that one? 30% for Parker v Chisora 2, and 0 for Kalnaki v Alenius 2. So closing this in 1 minute. If you haven't voted, get into it quickly. But my fight of the year was Wilder v Fury 3. And it's not often you see somebody go down twice, get up off the floor, knock the other dude down again, and knock him out. What was there, five knockdowns, I think? Wilder went down first, then Fury went down twice. Then Wilder went down again, and then the last time he went down, he didn't get, well, the ref stopped it, something like that. It was either 4 or 5 knockdowns. But epic title fight. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And 10, closing this down. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Poll is closed. End poll. And that be over for the poll. So we already knew the results there. Alexander Usyk defeat Anthony Joshua. Man, allow me. Yeah, bloody chat buggered off on me. Defeat Anthony Joshua at heavyweight. Then early prediction here. I think Alexander Usyk is gonna stop Joshua next time. Yeah, big call, right? Big call. But I think Joshua knows he's gonna have to put it on Usyk to try and slow him down or knock him out. There ain't no way he can outbox him. Not a shit show in hell. But if he's not successful in those first 6, I think he's going to get stopped. And I did just see an article on BoxRec. I know it's a promoter speaking, but let me see. The title was, where is it? Not on BoxRec, Boxing Scene. No. It was Alexander Krajashuk, the promoter of Alexander Usyk, said Alexander was only at 60 to 70% when he fought Joshua the first time. He's going to do better next time. Yeah, I don't know why you would say 60 to 70%. Was he injured? Was he not used to the new weight? I didn't even read the article, but I'm not really that interested to hear what a promoter says about their fighter, because a promoter is always going to promote his fighter regardless of what the deal is. But I don't know. I was speaking to a couple of the boys last night, had a bit of a fight party watching the Andrew Maloney card on Discord, and one of the bros says if Anthony Joshua gets stopped by Usyk, he's likely to retire, and I tend to agree with it. And that's not why I made my pick, Usyk to stop Joshua. I made that pick before I even spoke to Scotty about that. So, yeah, we'll see what happens though, man. It's still a decent fight, and I'll be interested to see what Anthony Joshua changes, and if whatever the changes he makes in the first few rounds, if it's not working, is he able to adapt again in the fight? That's one thing I'm not so sure of with Joshua. I know Alexander Usyk, he's got all the tools. He can adapt to anything. Hey! Shush! Bloody kids. Anyway. And yeah, Usyk can adapt to anything. Yeah, he doesn't have the hugest power shots, but he accumulates really good, and Joshua doesn't have the best gas tank when he gets accumulated on, as we've seen. So yeah, I don't think it's a gimme fight for Usyk whatsoever, but yeah, it's a good fight. Joshua can hurt Usyk, in my opinion, but he was showing Usyk too much respect. Yeah, I agree. He can hurt Usyk, but as we saw, Usyk can also hurt Joshua, also in the later part of the fight. And he's so much quicker. But like I say, Joshua can hurt Usyk, particularly if he goes to the body a lot early. He had some success, like Joshua was saying in the interview recently. I can't remember what it was. If he plays to his strengths, he thinks he can be successful. Which is, we saw Usyk grimacing for a couple of rounds. I think it was the 7th and 8th or something. Grimacing with the body work that Joshua was doing. But it didn't last long, did it? And I think that's to do with Joshua's gas tank. And also partly to do with the instructions he was getting in the corner. That was crazy. Telling him, brilliant. Just keep jabbing. Wasn't encouraging the work that he was doing to the body, which was doing the damage. But yeah, it's going to take some gas out of Joshua. Doing that. If Alexander Usyk can weather the storm when it happens, I think Joshua's going to be right for the knockout come rounds 9, 10, 11. But we'll see. The fight gets made. Some people seem to think that the fight still won't happen for some reason. That maybe we're somehow going to get undisputed, but I just can't see it, because Dillian White ain't going to be stepping aside no matter what. He wants that WBC belt. I think with all the trouble he's been through to get that shot, he won't be interested in taking a low purse. He wants what he thinks he's worth, and if it makes Tyson Fury vacate, then Dillian White's going to be the A-side no matter who he fights. And that's right, I was looking up the WBC rankings to see who could possibly be if Tyson does vacate. Results, rankings, there we go. Official rankings. Let's look. So, what do we got here? WBC. Yeah, we've got Tyson Fury and Dillian White with the belts, right? Number 1 challenger, Deontay Wilder. That will be interesting. If it gets ordered by the WBC, I can't see Deontay making a deal with White, because White's going to want the massive slice being interim champion, isn't he? And Deontay Wilder coming off 2 losses, he might only be entitled to 30%. I can see him seeing his value as more than that, so he'll try and take it to purse bid, but it'll be interesting to see if the WBC gives a purse bid split prior to the purse bid. That could force Deontay Wilder into a deal. But I think it's still a pretty decent money fight. Dillian White versus Deontay Wilder. I think it's still a really decent money fight, and if Dillian is the A side with possibly 70%, he might make just as much money as he would have at 45% fighting Tyson Fury for the actual title, right? I see Joe Joyce at number 2 there, but he's number 1 with the WBO. I don't think White would be trying to chase Joyce. That's a pretty damn tough fight. If Wilder doesn't want that smoke, I could see Joyce maybe not wanting that. Dillian not wanting that Joyce smoke. But if he's ordered to do it, he's got to do it, doesn't he? Depends what Joe Joyce is up to, but interestingly enough, you know, Joyce was scheduled to fight, but in the last couple of days, since this talk of Fury potentially vacating to avoid White, Joe Joyce's scheduled fight has been scrapped all of a sudden. So he may be trying to get in for that WBC shot in front of Deontay Wilder, depending. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see what happens with that development. I think it'll be early New Year when the WBC purse bid for White v Fury is scheduled or something. So, interesting situation. We'll see what's going to happen there. But, oh, just a sec. Sorry team, just had a courier turn up with my new max size fermenter for making my moonshine. Alright, so where was I? Fury White will be interesting. Yeah, I think it will be too. I'm still picking Fury to beat White. But White's a dog, man. He's a dog. I don't think that Kronk style is going to work quite as well against a Dillian White. He's got the dog to combat it. And he's got a pretty decent punch too, so if he can get to Tyson's chin, it could be a problem. I expect Tyson to maybe box a bit longer. That would suit him, but whether he can do it anymore with all the Kronk training that he's been doing, I don't know. I'm pretty sure he still can, but he's another one like Usyk. He's got all the tools. He can adapt to anything. White has improved, but he's still got those balance issues. He still looks really... how do I put this? He still looks like he's green at times. some of his punches look uncoordinated and things, and I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I just hope that mandatory fight happens. Get it done, get it out the way. Stuff this ducking and this taking franchise titles and claiming to be fighting for undisputed when you don't have one of the belts. I'm over all that shit. I'm over it. Let's keep it simple. The real belts matter, nothing else does. The other belts, the trinkets, they're only to get you a ranking towards a title shot. And franchise means nothing. White's left hook is pretty decent, yeah. And his left uppercut. But, yeah, let's just hope we get to see it. I can't see any way these guys can duck what they need to be doing, being Usyk and Fury, to be able to fight for legitimate undisputed. It's just not going to happen until their obligations are out the way. Usyk's obligated to a rematch, which he shouldn't have been because he was a mandatory, but Eddie Hearn weaseled it in there. Should be called rematchroom boxing. I don't believe mandatory should ever have to have rematch clauses in their contracts. It's crap. And if there wasn't, maybe we might have seen undisputed. Think about that. Think about how Eddie Hearn has fucked undisputed over by putting an illegitimate rematch into that fucking contract. Pissed me right off. But it's done now. We're living with it. Get it done. Don't piss around. Don't try and sidestep. Don't try this step aside money. Don't try this franchise designation. I mean, if you want to believe that the franchise title is worth something, well, you know,
That's what you want to believe.
that's what you won't believe. Yeah, it is what it is. It is my opinion.
Big boy, you be looking like a hoe ass dude when you be saying some stupid ass shit like that. You look like a bitch ass nigga when you talk like that, dude.
Whatever, BFTP. Anyways, the panel was open, y'all. If anybody wants to jump on, let me go and check, make sure I haven't got someone in there and I'm muted. No, I'm not muted. It's all good. The link is pinned to the top there. If anybody wants to come on, have a yarn. We've got a few pretty decent prospects this year have shone out. Jared Anderson is looking extremely promising. I'd like to see him in a more competitive fight. I think if Jonathan Rice can get past Michael Polite Coffee again, I'd like to see him face somebody like that, or you know, even a DMC McKean or a Zhili Zhang, or you know, someone who's proven somewhat their worth, not someone like Alexander Teslenko who got knocked out by Shondell Winters. You know, I don't like those sorts of fight for Anderson anymore. He's shown the quality to be able to kick it with at least contenders these days. He's had a fair few fights this year, so start making it more meaningful. But yeah, I'm really high on Jared Anderson at the moment. Who else have we got? We got the usual culprits that are been on the fringe and looking to try and break through somewhere. Philip Hergovic, nobody will fight him because they only make 2 cents worth 2 cents of a purse. Fighting a guy who's pretty lethal. Michael Hunter, he's went off on a tangent with Triller. I think we can forget about him for now. Honestly, he looked like ass in his last fight. Making good money over there at Triller, overlooking opponents, and he's looking like ass. So I think we can forget about Michael Hunter for now until he starts showing that he's back committed to the sport and not there just to make money. As we saw on the weekend, Joseph Parker, well, he's not really he's a contender, but he's been inside the top 10 for quite some time. Tony Yoka is on the move. Actually, shit, he's got a fight. Is that still this year? Let's have a look. He was going to be fighting Carlos Takam, but that fell through, which is good because I didn't like that fight. I think Takam's toast. Let me look. Tony Yoka box rec. No, that's... I spelled it wrong. Tucker Khan Cleary came up. Far out. B-O-N-Y space Y-O-K-A space B-O-X-R-E-C. Come on, give it to me. Right, Tony Yoka, currently 11-0. Oh, that's right. He was going to be fighting Martin Bacoli, and then apparently that got trashed, and they were going to have Yoka v Takam in France, or French affair, but that got scrapped for some reason. Now he's back fighting Martin Bacoli, and that is going to be on the 15th of January. Okay, yeah, 15th of January, so we've got a little bit to wait for that one, but that's probably the next decent heavyweight card after the Martin v Ortiz card. There's nothing else confirmed on that card yet, but it will be in France. But Tony Yoka's another one that's moving along pretty quickly. I mean, shit, for 11 fights, he's actually got a pretty stellar resume. There ain't many prospects you would see. I mean, he started with Travis Clark. Fair enough, pro debut. But Travis Clark at the time was 12-0. What prospect fights an unbeaten fighter in his first fight? Holy McJesus. Then he fought Jonathan Rice in his second pro fight. At the time, Jonathan Rice was 7-2. And that was a decent fight. Jonathan Rice always gives trouble. At that time, he wasn't as confident as he is now. We've seen him believe in himself a lot more. Sit down on his right hand a lot more when he beat Michael Polite Coffey. Surprised many of us, including me. But after Jonathan Rice, he fought Ali Baglu. How do I say this? Bagbows? Okay. I don't even know who that dude was. But at the time, he was 10-1-1. And he moved on to Cyril Leonette. French level. He was a French champion for quite a while with Cyril Leonette, but way past his prime and not that great. But then Dave Allen, Alexander Dimitrenko, Michael Wallace, Johan Dorper. These are all inside his first 10 fights. Christian Hammer, Joel Tumbleweed Jekko. That was actually a pretty decent fight too. That went the distance. Joel Tumbleweed Jekko is actually a bit of a scrapper. I hadn't heard of him before that fight. When I seen the name, I was like, oh, okay, he's finally fighting a bum. But then when the fight came, I was like, holy shit, this dude can fight. Then he had Peter Milas. So Tony Yoka is moving very fast for a prospect. It'll be his 12th fight against Martin Bacoli. I'll pick him to beat Bacoli as well. Yeah, I think he'll just monster him. I mean, Bacoli's pretty tough himself. He's not the best inside fighter though. I mean, he can throw hooks to the body and the head, but Tony Yoka's got a vicious uppercut in both hands. If he starts throwing those hooks in close, Yoka's just going to uppercut him and put him straight on his ass, in my opinion. But yeah, Tony Yoka's another one. Who else have we got as a decent prospect for the year? Let us know in the chat your prospect or contender of the year. Triple D, yeah, he's coming back. Parker v Triple D would be a good one, but I guess Parker could chase a WBA ranking. Daniel Dubois is highly ranked with the WBA. I don't know why. After he lost to Joe Joyce, he beat Bogdan Dinu, who had a high ranking for some reason. But yeah, I'm just trying to find my rankings again, because I'm sure Daniel Dubois hasn't got rankings pretty much anywhere else. Let's have a look. WBC. Parker, Frank Sanchez, Luis Ortiz, Michael Hunter at 7, Edric Caballero 8, Philip Hergovic 9, Aslan Bekmambetov 10, Tony Yoka. How the hell is Yoka behind Makhmudov? He's fought way better competition than Makhmudov. How is Tony Yoka behind Philip Hergovic? He's fought way better competition than Philip Hergovic. How is he behind Edric Caballero? He's fought way better competition. He should be around the level of Michael Hunter. Maybe even above Michael Hunter. Oh, that's crazy from the WBC. But under Tony Yoka is Derek Chisora, 13, Robert Helenius, and Martin Bacoli, 14. There we go. Daniel Dubois, number 15 with the WBC. The WBA, he is the number 1 contender. Michael Hunter under him, Robert Helenius, Hughie Fury, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder down at 6, Edric Caballero 7, Andy Ruiz 8, Makhmudov 9, Jan Kazabutsky. Yes, he was in it. Was it him on the weekend? He fought Alexander Ustinov on the weekend. I'm sure it was him. Zan Kazabutsky. I'm not actually sure. It might have been him. But Ustinov took a dive in the first round. Big lump. Useless. Bacoli at 11, Hergovic 12, Parker 13, Yoka 14. Mark Demore is still in the WBA rankings. Yeah, Mark Demore. Michael Hunter was trying to fight Mark Demore on that Triller card recently, but the WBA wouldn't sanction it. So, who was it who moved up? Jerry Forrest got to move up to the main event. I don't know how Mark Demore got back in the rankings. Where are we? IBF, Alexander Usyk, not rated as number 1. I like how the WBA do that. If somebody's in the number 1 spot, it means they're mandatory. I think the other bodies should do that as well. Then there'd be no confusion. People say, oh, he's number 1 mandatory, when somebody's just number 1. They're not mandatory. So I quite like that idea from the from the IBF. Number 1 spot is for the mandatory. If there's no mandatory, it's a vacant spot. IBF, oh, Charles Martin's right up there. He's at number 2. Philip Hergovic at 3. Joseph Parker 4. Anthony Joshua 5. Tony Yoka 6. Tony Yoka 6. What do we got? Joe Joyce 7. Edric Caballero 8. Murat Gassiev is 9. How the fuck did he get a ranking up there? He hasn't fought anybody at heavyweight. Luis Ortiz at 10. Andy Ruiz 11. Derek Chisora 12. Zhili Zhang 13. Fury 14. Martin Bacoli 15. So no Daniel Dubois in the IBF rankings whatsoever. Did we have him? Oh yeah, he's number 1 on the WBA. Duh. Number 15 with the WBC is Daniel Dubois. And finally, the WBO. Of course, we have Joe Joyce at number 1, who is not currently the mandatory. Frank Warren's talking shit. The WBO has not appointed a mandatory, so don't buy Fisheye's crap. Joseph Parker at number 2. So that's a possible final eliminator for Parker. Joe Joyce, Joseph Parker for the WBO mandatory. And there is also, where are we? Charles Martin's the IBF, but he's fighting on the 1st. Philip Hergovic number 3 and Joseph Parker number 4. But I imagine whoever wins the fight between Martin and Ortiz, I think it'll be Martin, is probably going to be that number 2. I don't think they can call it it shouldn't be a final eliminator, because a final eliminator is supposed to be between the 2 highest ranked available opponents, right? So once, well, the IBF right now could actually turn around and say, well, Charles Martin isn't available because he's got a scheduled fight. Let's order Philip Hergovic and Joseph Parker for the IBF final eliminator. They can do that because Charles Martin is busy. But if they wait until after that fight, there's going to be something in the way there, in the form of Luis Ortiz or Charles Martin, for that fight to be happening. They could call it an eliminator, like a semi-final, kind of like what the WBA does, a 4-man box-off for the mandatory. But yeah, the WBA doesn't stipulate whether it's a mandatory for the super champion or a mandatory for the regular champion. So we got to make it confusing, just so we leave all the doors open and we can do what the fuck we want. Anyway, back to WBO rankings. Andy Ruiz at 3, Anthony Joshua 4, Frank Sanchez 5. Quiet, little man. You got your movie. Be quiet. Daniel Dubois at number 6 with the WBO. So yeah, well, it's possible. Or Frank Sanchez. I was gonna say, could be possible for Parker and Dubois to be in some kind of eliminator for the WBO, but there's a few fighters in the way between them to make it a final eliminator, because Joe Joyce is number 1. He's got to be in a final eliminator if one's available, or if he's available. Now, he's just made himself available in case of that WBC shot, but he's also made himself available for a final eliminator against Joseph Parker, isn't he? He just didn't think about that, probably. Or maybe that's what he's chasing, who knows? So yeah, Dubois v Parker's an okay fight, but I think Dubois actually has a bit of work to do to get back up to that kind of level. And like I keep saying, I think the next fight for Joe Parker needs to be a final eliminator. Then if he gets that spot, he can have some stay busy-ish fights until the title shot comes around. Because if he does go the WBO route, it's going to be some time before he gets a shot, because that's the last mandatory that the triple unified belt champion fought, right? That's why I keep saying you should go the IBF route. The WBA, I think the last mandatory for that was Alexander Povetkin against Anthony Josh. Oh no, it wasn't. It was Kubrat Pulev, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Kubrat Pulev was the last IBF. That wasn't that long ago. The WBA, yeah, it was Alexander Povetkin was the last WBA. So it's been Povetkin for the WBA. Then there was Pulev for the IBF. Then there was Usyk for the WBO. The next one in line is the IBF, isn't it? Back to the IBF. So that's the route I'd like to see Joe Parker chase. Anyway, back to the chat over here. What do we got? He has a better resume than Ortiz. Man, there's a lot of people that have a better resume than Ortiz. Who's Ortiz's best win, man? Christian Hammer? How does that make you a top 10? Christian Hammer's probably be lucky to be top 30. Warren paid a lot for that ranking. Wow. Frank Warren's he's been in the WBO's pocket more than the WBA, but I don't know how they managed to get, because it was originally for a title, wasn't it? Was it a WBA? Wasn't a gold title? What was it? It's a title they've dissolved. That's why. It wasn't it? Oh, it was. It was the interim WBA heavyweight title, wasn't it? That's what it was. So they've scrapped the interim title, but given the top ranking in the WBA. But how the hell can you warrant Bogdan Dino being in a interim title fight? Who he beat? Who he beat to deserve that? Nobody. Yoka has a better resume than Luis Ortiz. Man, you look at the first 10 fights of anybody. He's got damn near the best resume for the first 10 fights of any modern heavyweight, really. Better than Joshua's first 10 fights even, I think. Let's have a quick look at Joshua's first 10, see what... Anthony Joshua, Bucksrick. So yeah, first fights. Emmanuel Leo. Paul Butler. A name I can't pronounce. How the hell do we say that? Hervoj Kajak. Don't even know who the dude is. I don't remember seeing that one. Hervoj Kajak. That's 3. Dorian Darch. 4. Yeah, well, we know who Dorian Darch is, but he's pretty low level. 5 is Hector Alfredo Avila. No, not worth mentioning. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we move into Matt Legg. 6. Matt Skelton. This is a step up to domestic level, but not elite domestic level at the time. Matt Skelton. Konstantin Ancic. That's a little bit better than Matt. Wow, it's probably actually a little bit worse than Matt Skelton. Dennis Bakdov. He's a cruiserweight. Michael Sprott. Way past it. Knockout waiting to happen. Jason Gavin. Stepped up a little bit maybe. But Gavin at the time was 26 and 19. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah. So Jason Gavin was his 11th fight. Tony Yoka's first 10 fight resume smokes Anthony Joshua's by far. I can't think of anybody else who has a decent first 10. Well, Jared Anderson, I guess. We better look at that. Well, no. He's had 10, 11 fights now, and he's only hasn't beaten any recognized guys. He's beaten a few unbeaten prospects, but still nobody with the experience like the likes of Christian Hammer, Johan Dorpa, Jonathan Rice, these kind of guys. So Tony Yoka, by my determination, has the best first 10 fight heavyweight resume of anybody in the last 10 years. Easy. There is better quality of heavyweights now than the Klitschko. Oh, of course. Of course. I agree. I totally agree. I agree. Joker has a great resume so far. Yeah, he doesn't seem to be getting a lot of attention, but I guess a lot of that is because he's sticking at home in France in the moment while this pandemic's happening. He's still getting some exposure on ESPN. They're broadcasting his French fights, so this next one's in France as well. It's Martin Bacoli. See how he goes. I think Joker will stop him 7 or 8, somewhere there. But we'll see, man. It's an interesting fight. Yeah, so a few decent prospects and contenders starting to stick out. I think in the next 4 or 5 years, we're going to see the likes of Fury, Joshua, Wilder kind of slowly fade out of boxing. They're getting into their higher 30s. I think Wilder's the oldest, isn't he? 36 or something. So yeah, moving on. I think Tyson's just about the same age as him anyway. Joshua's a couple of years younger, but it's going to be interesting. The next wave of heavyweights with the Hrgovics, the Jokers. I mean, Parker's still plenty young enough to be in with those guys. He's actually younger than Hrgovic and Joker. He's only 29. He was a world champion at 24, so he's still going to be around for a little while, but he did say initially he said he was going to stop boxing at 30-31. He's going to be 30 in January, but then recently he's come out and said, oh, I'll box till I'm like 34. You know, he's got the bug, got the itch, wants to get back to a world title shot. Who else? We've got the Bacolis, we've got the Makhmedovs, we've got the Andersons, the Fabio Wardleys, who else is there? The Zan Kazabutskis, the Yevgeny Romanovs. Mind you, Romanov's getting on in age as well, even though he's not that far into his pro career. He's getting on. I think he's like 36 or 37 too. Who else we got? We got a few. Even Dempsey McKean. I don't think he's gonna get to world title status though. Honestly, myself. I've seen some guys with a new lease of life, like Jonathan Rice, with a bit of confidence. We've got these guys who haven't broken through yet, like Jermaine Franklin, or Frank Sanchez is one that nobody's going to want to fight. What's a bet? The only way he's going to be getting a meaningful fight is if he forces a mandatory. If he can manage to get a final eliminator mandated and beat, because he will beat somebody. He's really good, but he can make you look really bad even if you do beat him. He's not the guy that anybody's going to go near. He's going to end up like a Luis Ortiz, I think. Not going to get any fight because there's no money in it for you. He's very high risk, and he's just going to sit on the shelf and get old, waiting for somebody to say, "I'll fight you." And we've got F.A. Jagba, who can come again if he's got a lot of work to do though, man. He's hasn't really improved in the last year or so in my eyes. Who's training him now? Is it Kei Karoma? I think it's Kei Karoma. Haven't really seen any improvements under Kei Karoma, in my opinion. Who else we got? We got my boy Hemi Ahio, who currently holds the WBC Middle Eastern heavyweight title. I would like to see him fight in cruiserweight. Oh, not cruiserweight. The new division, the bridgerweight, fight in there. But he wants to fight at heavyweight. He wants to fight the best. He doesn't care if he wins or loses. He's another one, kind of like Derek Chisora. He just loves to fight. Loves to fight. If you haven't seen Hemi Ahio, I suggest you go and find a couple of his fights. Go check him out. All action. He's the guy I want to see fight Alan Babic, but bet you that won't happen. Anyways, what's his boogeyman? I don't like this boogeyman nonsense. Boogeyman is someone that's scary and you don't want to fight. The risk versus reward equation for somebody like Luis Ortiz, like Frank Sanchez, ain't great. unless it's for something and you're pretty sure you can beat them. Nobody going near those kind of guys. Not marketable when you don't speak English. Very good boxers, but you're not gonna make a penny fighting the fuckers. Are there any plans for Junior Farr? He does have a YouTube channel, and he has been doing some commentary about Joseph Parker fights and thoughts and things. And he was talking during his live the other day. He's got nothing on the horizon at this point, but he says he'll fight anybody. I'll believe that when I see it. He could be fighting Philip Hergovic. He could be fighting Jermaine Franklin. Those sorts of level fighters. He could be fighting Dempsey McKean. He could be fighting... who else? They can fight anybody, but he's also another fighter because he fights so negatively, so defensively, doesn't have much offense because he's worried about getting hit so much. He's not that entertaining. He's the kind of guy that can make somebody look bad even if they beat him, and there's no freaking money in it. So it'll be difficult for Junior to get a fight unless it's an ordered fight. And to get an ordered fight like that, it's going to have to be something like the Oceania Pacific title or something to get somebody to fight him. Otherwise, it just ain't going to happen. It sucks. And also something Junior said on the stream the other day that I was watching was, you know, fans want action. They want big punches, knockdowns, and basically fans just want to see blood. But they don't realize that when somebody fights like that, they get hit a lot. It shortens their career, their earning potential, and possibly their health. So it sounds to me like he doesn't have that fighting spirit in him. That's why he's so defensive. That's why he's not entertaining. And that's why he ain't gonna get anywhere near a world title. Stephen Shaw. That's another prospect. We Dominic Brazil. I don't know, man. I don't think Brazil's got much left when it comes to enthusiasm anymore. I mean, he's a big lump and he's got a decent gas tank. Hey, son, please don't try and sing. I'm trying to do a stream here. Thank you. Excuse the background noise, team. But yeah, Junior is Junior. I don't think he's going to get any big fights based on his fighting style and his lack of financial worth. He got his kind of cash out against Joseph Parker in our national derby down here. I hope he does well in life. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight again, but like I say, not the most entertaining fighter. Stephen Shaw's a good prospect. It's one I forgot to mention. Yeah, Aslanbek Makhmudov, did I mention him? He's a beast of a man, but under his promotional ban, I think he's Yvonne Michelle up there in Canada. I don't see him being able to attract enough worth to be able to get a decent fight, and he's another one because he's so dangerous. It's kind of like Hergovic's situation. Doesn't speak a lot of English. He's a big puncher. Not a lot of money behind him, so it's hard for him to get decent opponents. He needs an order to get a decent fight. But hopefully in 2022 we can see some of these fighters get the fights that they should be in to determine whether they belong in the top 20, whether they belong in the top 10. I mean, there's a group of fighters that are, I think, pretty much consistently consensus top 10s, but the 10 to 20 I don't think is really defined because there's so many guys that haven't fought the fights to give us anything to go off. So I got my fingers, my toes, my eyes and my nuts all crossed that we can get some of these fights going in 2022. And I hope the fighters get paid what they're worth. I hope fighters don't get overpaid. That's where a lot of greed comes from. You get overpaid for one fight, you think you're worth this much for the next one. But anyways, getting close to shutting this down. I will get out of the chat since nobody seems to want to join today, which is fine. Just a note to anybody, there is a card on tonight in Australia it's a lot of rugby league stars, but Paul Gallen is on the card. Y'all might know who Paul Gallen is if you're not from Australia. He has been boxing a bit recently. He beat Lucas Brown. He lost to Justice Hooney. Yeah, he's a 6-foot rugby league player in his 40s, but he's making good money. He knows how to sell a fight, which is a biggie as well. Just looking to see if there's an available stream for tonight. I'm gonna do a fight party. I did one last night with the Maloney card, just on Discord, not recording, not streaming, just casual as I stream the fight on a voice channel, and everybody can talk in that voice channel, so you can have conversations. I have the fight volume down low so we can all hear each other, but here it is, 20 o'clock, so that's 8 o'clock New Zealand time, 8 p.m. Paul Gallen versus Darcy Lusick, Lussick. That's the prelims, and the main event, which is pay-per-view, starts at 10 o'clock New Zealand time. So I'll set that up for tonight. Paul Gallen versus Darcy Lusick. I think he's a rugby league player, but I saw the weigh-in for them yesterday, and Lusick looks like a giant next to Gallen. Just see if I can find some stats on them. Paul Gallen, box rec. There he is, Paul Gallen. He's a pretty legendary league player, was Paul Gallen. And if a scrap broke out in a rugby field, you don't want to be fighting with this cat, even if you're bigger than him. Because he's only 5'10", right? 5'10" and a half. 179 centimeters. He's only got a 70-inch reach, which is 178 centimeters, right? But the guy he is fighting, and by the way, Paul Gallen is 11-1, right? The guy he is fighting, Darcy Lusick. Just trying to bring up his stats. Hopefully they've got something on him. Let's have a look here. As I suspected, they ain't got shit on him. He's 6'4". He looks bigger than that, mind you. Standing next to Gallen, who's only 5'10", he's gonna look like a freaking giant, isn't he? 6'4", no registered reach. He's already had one pro fight. Who did he fight? Justin Hodges. That's another league player. So he's fought another league player, Justin Hodges, who was 2-0 at the time. I think he was training with Anthony Mundine, Justin Hodges, when Mundine was doing his kind of celebrity kind of fights. Yeah, anyway, that card is on tonight. I'll just have a quick look at the event, see if there's any other heavyweights on there. I think there is. Just a sec, my son wants something. Sorry, my other son's made a hell of a mess and my older son's come to knock on him. But I have to get off and clean it up shortly. Anyways, looking for, we got The co-main doesn't have a listed weight next to it. That is interesting. Am I on the wrong event? Hold on, gotta sort these kids out. Right, sorry team. I'm gonna have to shut this down. Kids giving me trouble here. Yeah, but having a quick look through. Oh, there is another heavyweight fight here. Oh, I saw the weigh-in for this. Joey Lealua is debuting, and he's taking on a guy called Chris Hyington. Yeah, Chris Hyington. He's also debuting, but I saw the weigh-in for that, and there's a lot of aggro between those guys. So looking forward to that one. There's a cruiserweight fight on here as well. A few other fights. But anyway, I'm doing a fight party for that tonight. And that will start at 10 o'clock New Zealand time. I will put the link to the Discord is in the description. So head on over to Discord, check it out. And hopefully we'll see some of y'all there for the fight party tonight. It's free. It's not recorded. It's not on YouTube. It's casual as, so get involved, man. We've got a good little community over there on Discord. And yeah, if you have any questions, just send me a message on Discord, or you can ask Phil Carl Roberts, who's in the chat. He's one of our regular members. We've also got Hannibal B as well. They could help you out with any instructions possibly if you need any. But it's pretty basic. It's just a standard sign up, email, password, and you're in. Come and join the server. Alright, thanks for joining me, team. I've got to go and sort these bloody kids out at the cut it short. So take it easy. Merry Christmas to everybody. Hope you all have a fantastic Christmas with your friends and family. Stay safe. Don't get too drunk. Don't do anything stupid. And we'll catch you New Year's Day for this big heavyweight card between Charles Martin and Luis Ortiz being the main events, but there's lots of other heavyweight fights on there as well. So take it easy. Catch you next time. I'm out. See you.
So that's us for today. I hope you have enjoyed. You can show your appreciation with a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Be sure to check out our Discord community where you can find boxing news, fight links, live streamed fights, and much more. So look after yourself and your family. I'm Jono from Big Boys Boxing, and I'm out. See you!